Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Betting Show Week 8. I am your host Andrew and I am joined as always with Adam. Adam, we've had a game already. It was on last night. It was a great game. Vikings against the Rams, score 30-20. The Rams got cut back. They got Nacua back. Both of them looked like they were never off. How do you feel about the game?
I mean, it does help, doesn't it, when you've got two wide receivers like that coming back? It's the Matthew Stafford Bowl, I believe it was being portrayed as, and I think after last night, Matthew Stafford won't be going anywhere. So yeah, they looked good, didn't they? Actually, in fairness to them, I thought they looked pretty good. They've got some guys on the O-line coming back soon. I think once they get Steve Aviva back, that would be very good for him. And yeah, sneaky team, the Rams, for that division. I think now I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, well, they've got that win over the 49ers already.
Yeah,
that's going to be quite handy, isn't it? So
yeah, I think they look pretty good, and they're only going to get better as they get healthier.
I liked them before the season started. It was just unfortunate that they just had injuries on O-line. They had injuries at wide receiver. You know, they've got through that spell now. So, yeah, having those two back just opens up the run game, and Stafford can be Stafford again. It's a big improvement. Jared Verse looks like a beast as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, and it's a division for the taking. It really is. I mean, like you say, the 49ers lost to them. They're now bottom, aren't they, of that division, I believe, in the standings, which, you know, who saw that one coming after 7 weeks? The Cardinals are a bit hit and miss all over the place. And the Seahawks, Seahawks are one of them teams. I think they're going to beat up the poor teams and they're going to struggle against the good ones. And so I think because of that, they might struggle in the long run. But yeah, this Rams, I mean, they weren't far away last year when you think about it. And if they can get healthy, they can get back to that point. But I think they've got a real weakness at corner. I think that's where the problem is, and that's going to be probably their downfall in the long run. But yeah, it's good to see them sort of like the team fully healthy and them guys back out there. And as for the Vikings, I mean, I've been saying all season long, I don't think their defense is as good as what everyone is saying. You can pass on this team. It's something that we've all been saying. They're very, very lowly ranked when it comes to passing yards and stuff like that. And you know, I think they'll be all right. I don't think they're suddenly going to drop off a cliff, but they are in a, you know, lost a couple of games in a row now, so they're in a little bit of a rut that they need to get out of.
Also, they lost Christian Darrisaw, didn't they, during the game? I think that's a massive loss for them. I'm not sure how long he's out for going forward, but if he is out for any period of time, you know, they just didn't look as good without him. We've seen the Giants lose their left tackle and look awful. So, you know, it only takes one player like that of that ability to go down, and it's a completely different offense. So that's a bit of a big loss for the Vikings as well.
Yeah, heartbroken for him.
Oh yeah, the Packers fan. He's ever heartbroken for the Vikings. Last week, the F-Tag 5 was 3-2. We had, well, I think it should have been 4-1. You know, we had the Rams not quite cover, but they were unlucky not to. They were in a position and then let it slip against the Raiders. So they
I
won.
don't think that's how it works, but I hear what you're saying.
It was unlucky. The other one was a loss. It was an outright loss. It was the Texans, wasn't it?
Falcons. Yeah.
So, you know, that just put it all to...
Apparently none of us predicted the Seahawks to beat them by 20 points. That one went out.
No. But, hey-ho, it's a new week. It's a new bet. I found it very, very tough this week. The spreads are either ridiculously high or they're 50-50 games in my eyes. I found it very, very tough. But we'll take a look. We'll see what we've got. So, first up, I think some of the lines have moved in my favour slightly, so quite happy about that. So first up, I have gone with your Green Bay Packers at -4 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Despite the Jags coming back from London with a win, I cannot put any money on them or be convinced that they'll replicate that again. They played a very poor Patriots team and came away with a win. Whereas the Packers just seem to be growing strength on strength. The defense seems to be getting better and better each week. And your plethora of young attacking players just, it doesn't matter which one's on the field, does it? One of them will step up and you've got to try and pick which one's going to have the big game, whether it be a tight end, a running back, or your wide receivers. It's -4. I think they win this game by at least 7 to 10 in my eyes. So I'm happy with the -4, even though it's above the field goal. Adam, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I was a little surprised actually that it was set at -4. I had a feeling it might be a little bit higher than that, given the state of both organisations at the moment. It does feel very much like with the Packers that it is all coming together, and it's starting to get a little bit better as the season's going on. I think, as you said, the defense under Jeff Hafley is looking very good and is slowly getting better. They're a top sort of like they're kind of mid-table on the run and the pass, but they're kind of like moving slightly towards the top 10 in both sections. So they're looking pretty good defensively. And Jordan Love has struggled a little bit this season. He hasn't been quite as good as what he was at the back end of last season. But I think with a mixture of the injury that he had, and I think that a lot of people thought that he was just going to pick up where he left off last season, and that doesn't normally happen all the time. So I think that the fact that I think he's going to be one of these guys where it's going to take rhythm and it's going to take time, and he is going to get better and better. And by the time we reach sort of like, I don't know, week 13, week 14, that sort of time, I think they will be probably firing on all cylinders, and then they will just continue to go to the end. And I think that means that slowly you're starting to see this Packers offense get stronger and stronger. When it comes to the Jags, defensively, they really, really struggle against the pass. They're 31st when they give up passing yards. I think that this is something that you're going to see for the rest of the season. Their corners just don't look up to it at all. They've got a decent front line on the defense, and that's obviously a good thing, so they can try and get some pressure on the opposing quarterback. But it is going to be tough if you give any sort of time to the quarterback. We saw it in London when they played Caleb Williams and the Bears. Any sort of time that Caleb Williams had, the ball was just being peppered around, and they couldn't do anything to stop it. And I think that is probably what's going to happen in this game as well. Offensively, they looked all right last week, but it was against the Patriots, so there is a little bit of a sort of dampening of that. You can't read loads into it. But I did think even against the Bears offensively, it was more about drop catches than it was about poor offensive play. So I actually think offensively, they're not too bad. I just don't see them being able to basically keep up, is what I think is going to be the issue here. So -4, I think, is a decent line for the Packers in this one.
Do you think you're going to be even better on offense with your new offensive? What's his title? Offensive.
Did he have a title?
It has. It's got a title. I can't remember what it is. It's obviously not a coordinator, but I don't know, analyst. I don't know. He's doing something with your offense.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Obviously, with Robert Saleh being there, I can't quite remember it. I think Matt LaFleur was his best man at his wedding, or the other way around. I'm not quite sure. But obviously they've known each other for quite a long time. Apparently he's worked with Jeff Hafley before as well. But he's going to be on the offensive side, and he's going to be able to. It's kind of, from what I've read, it's very much almost like a role of being able to help them with the defenses that they're going to be going up against. Mm-hmm. So really, it's kind of almost like a scout is essentially what it is. And I suppose, it's a pretty good scout to have, and a head coach. So it's not a bad scout. But yeah, it does seem like a strange one. But apparently, it's something that they did a couple of years ago, and they felt that it helped them a couple of years ago. Didn't do it last year, and obviously, I don't know whether they felt they missed that. I'm not sure, but it's you would think it would only be a positive.
It can only be a positive, yeah. I can't see that working against you. So, like I say, they're already mates. They both had to put up with Aaron Rodgers, so it's nice for them to have some time now just to reflect on how annoying he was and how good things are in Green Bay now. Adam, our next game that I've picked is the Houston Texans, just one down from that one, at -5. Going up against the Indianapolis Colts. We're being told that it is Anthony Richardson starting again for them. I think Jonathan Taylor might be back. It's not confirmed he's definitely back yet, is it? They're just saying he should be back. So that's a plus for them. They might be able to lean on that run game rather than putting it in Anthony Richardson's hands and let him throw picks and overshoot people. But the Texans, on the other hand, they haven't looked like the Texans of last year, but they have looked good since Joe Mixon's been back, and their ability to put up points in games, I think, is going to outweigh what the Colts will be able to put on the board. So at -5, again, it's not within that field goal, but 2 field goals, a touchdown. I can see them winning by 7 in this game. 6-7. I think I've got a Texans win for this one. Just think they're better quarterback. Going to be a good matchup with the head coaches. That's going to be a nice battle. Obviously, being offensive and defensive minded, that's going to be nice. But just feel like they're going to be able to put up more points than this Colts team.
Yeah, it would be surprising if the Texans didn't come out with this one. Although offensively, especially last week, CJ Stroud didn't really pass the ball that much. It doesn't matter because they've got this run game that's going really well because of Joe Mixon being back, and that's a huge positive for them. They can beat you through the air, they can beat you on the ground, and not only that, they can beat you with their defense as well. That's been very good this year and looks like it's only going to continue to be good. I think that with this particular matchup against the Colts, because you've got such a good defense going up against, to be brutally honest, a pretty poor defense in the Colts, I think that's probably going to be all you need to know regarding it. It's just the Colts can't stop the run. They struggle against the pass. And this is going to be a problem when you're going up against a team away from home who can beat you either way. So I think I don't, I'm not expecting a massive performance from CJ Stroud. I reckon he'll probably do something similar to what he did last week. But I think Joe Mixon will have a really good game in this one and do really well, because if you can just keep running against the Colts, why would you do anything else? So it kind of feels like that's what's going to happen. As you said, Anthony Richardson is going to be starting. We don't know 100% about Jonathan Taylor, but I would have thought he probably will. I find normally when you get the high ankle sprain, you're normally either back straight away because it's not actually that bad, or you're out for 3 weeks. And I believe this is he's done 3 weeks of being out now. So I would expect to see Jonathan Taylor out there, which will help them offensively. I just think you're going up against a very strong defense, and so it's going to limit the amount that he's going to be able to do. You're going to have to rely a little bit on Anthony Richardson. I would rather not, because you've got no idea where that ball's going. So I think -5, because it's within the touchdown, I think it is worth going for. I do like it. I just think that the Texans are a cut above this Colts team, and that's a little bit surprising when we think about what we spoke about before the season started, because I think we all kind of felt like We say the same thing with the Colts. Really good defense, just need to improve on the offense, get more reps for Anthony Richardson, they'll be okay. It's really not worked out like that at all. And they really struggled defensively. And Anthony Richardson, despite the reps that he has had, has still looked just as awful as what he to me, he looks worse this season than what he did last.
I mean, you didn't see there was. I think people hadn't. There was no tape on him. There wasn't much from college on him, so
No.
I don't think people knew what to expect when he lined up last year. He only played at the start, and that's it. And then people have kind of got wise to what he is and can scheme against it. So again, we're saying like he's rubbish. He's not this, but he was a gamble when they took him, and he was very raw. So. I can't. It's hard to say it's rubbish because we're just seeing what he did at Florida, like virtually the same. So I understand.
He needs time.
I understand why they're persisting, but to be so close last year and go, well, if it was just a bit better quarterback play than Minshew, we would have been there, and that's what the hopes were this year. It is a bit of a downfall for them when they could play Flacco and maybe qualify for the playoffs.
It's a really difficult one because obviously if you do play Flacco, you will be a much better team. You know, I mean that's quite clear to see that you will be certainly offensively you will be a much better team, and I think you'll be in with a lot more chances of winning some of these games. But obviously that will only take you so far. You know, this is the problem, and you know, do you truly believe that Flacco will get you to a Super Bowl? Probably not. So. It's one of them things where it's almost like, do you want that? And chances are it's probably not really that helpful for them to do that. So it kind of makes more sense to persevere with him, give him the reps, keep on going. But I don't know if really he's ever going to be one of these quarterbacks that really kicks on, because it kind of, like I say, I know he didn't play many games last year. But I think he looked better last year than he did this year. And maybe that is because defenses have worked him out a little bit. But if they've worked him out already, then where do you go from there?
And I don't think we can blame the head coach, because we know the head coach is good. We know what he did for Jalen Hurts. So we know he can get the best out of quarterbacks. So we can't even blame that. One quick one on the Texans before we move on. Tank Dell, what's happened to him, Adam?
Well, the poor guy got shot in the summer. I mean, leave the poor guy alone. What do they want? I don't know. It's really weird, isn't it? The first week that Nico Collins was out injured, all of a sudden he turned up and he looked really good. Last week, he was against the Packers defense. They are looking good at the moment. That might be some of the reasoning behind it, but the idea that he didn't have a single catch was
not
a little bit odd.
Season either.
No, so a little bit strange. And obviously, like with Nico out still, you kind of feel like now the first read is going to be Stephon Diggs. So you sort of think he's going to go there. But really, once you get past that, I'm surprised there's not more going towards him. Because it wasn't just the fact that he didn't take the catches. Although, in fairness, I did, because I watched it because it was the Packers game. Some of them targets were not great to him. There were two in the end zone that were he was never going to get to them. So I don't actually think he missed out on too many. But it's just the fact that he's not being targeted much. That's what's strange.
Yeah, really odd. My next game, a bit of a punt on this one. It's a big line. I've gone with the Chargers at -7 against the New Orleans Saints. Now, I feel like the Chargers, I thought Herbert had a fantastic game last game, despite losing. He just didn't manage to get the ball in the end zone. And he did that with throwing the ball to Fehako, and Ladd McConkey didn't quite get into it at the start. But they're all fit. They're all back this week, and I feel like they can push on. J.K. Dobbins is playing nice football still. So I've got faith in the Chargers being able to put points on the board this week against the Saints, and I've also got faith that the defense is probably going to assist in that as well. because Spencer Rattler is trying to learn the game as quickly as possible on that field, is always going to make mistakes with being a rookie and how the change of pace from college that it's going to be at. And I feel like Chargers defense is playing really well this season. So there's going to be the option for fumbles, interceptions, good field position. So I feel like that's why I'm going to take the higher score, despite the fact it is a touchdown. I feel like if they do stick with Rattler, then they could win this one by 10 plus, possibly. Like I said, I thought Herbert had a great game last week. They just didn't get it in the end zone.
Yeah, I think that as you said, the Saints defense have struggled this year. 29th against the run and 28th against the pass. So they are struggling at the moment. They have got a few injuries on there, but they have been. You would expect for them to basically give up points. That's the truth. But the thing that concerns me most about this line is, as you say, it's gone to -7 now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Chargers are not a team that put up a lot of points. That's the only concern here. And the one game, the one that they put up the most was against the Panthers, who I think we can all safely say are struggling defensively at the moment. And they basically they got 26 points against them. I think if that, when you look at their other games, you've got like 23, 10, 10, 15, 22. So they're never really going to put up loads. So if you start thinking to yourself, okay, they put up 25 points in this game, that means that you're hoping that the Saints basically, 14 is what you're hoping for, not any more than that. I'm not saying that the Saints are great, and I'm not saying that Spencer Rattler's brilliant, but they do still have Alvin Kamara. Chris Olave is meant to be out there.
Alvin Kamara is apparently playing with a broken hand. Apparently, the last couple of weeks he's been playing with a broken hand.
But that's the point. He's been playing with it, hasn't he?
He hasn't been.
He hasn't been great, but I think just the name. I think just him out there is going to be enough. And Olave is meant to be back, and I just feel like it's a big line for an offense that doesn't score a lot of points, and that's the concern.
I could argue that the Broncos this season haven't put up a lot of points. They played very similar, really good defense, strong, struggled to get the ball in the end zone. They managed to put 33 up against them, 33-10.
They did. Yeah. I mean, it's one of them where it's like, it's quite a, it's a very possible one to come in. It's not an awful bet at all. Because like you say, the way that the Saints are playing in that defense, you can put points up against them. I don't know. I just kind of feel like with the way that the Chargers set up, the way that Harbaugh wants to play, it's not about scoring a lot of points, is it? It's about grinding out the result. And that's where it's slightly different to the Broncos. Because I think Sean Payton, although it's about having a good defense, I think he is quite the offensive head coach and wants to see some exciting play and quick play. And I think that's where it's potentially a little bit different. I'm not completely against it because I do think it's got a good chance. It's a low scoring team and a high spread.
My worry with it is there's possibility that Taysom Hill might be playing this week. And I worry that they might just go, do you know what? Let's just Spencer Rattler's struggling. Let's just bang him in at quarterback, and then they actually look dangerous when he's in at quarterback, and it all.
And again, if you're like 20, 30 yards away, it's not going to take a lot for him to suddenly rip off a run, and you're done, aren't you? And this is what I mean. It's I get why you've gone down this route, but it's fraught with danger. I think is probably
this week. My next game is I think they're up. Are they up? Yeah, they're up. The next game is the Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It is -2.5 in the Falcons' favor. Falcons didn't look great last week. Buccaneers seem to be still rolling, despite the fact that everybody's injured now. Virtually the whole offense is injured. So, and with that into account, I think the points might not be as high for the Buccaneers, and that's what they've been relying on, just outscoring teams heavily. And the Falcons, I feel, I say this again, a good enough team all round to put up enough to win this game by a field goal. You know, if that's what it is, it's a field goal that's in it. And Bijan, Pitts, London are all going to be playing. So I don't see how the Falcons don't win this one by a field goal.
Yeah, so when they played earlier this season, the Falcons won in a bit of a shootout, didn't they? And I don't see that happening in this game. The fact that Evans has gone down, the fact that Chris Godwin's gone down, I think that this is going to be a Buccaneers team that is going to struggle a lot more now. They do have some good weapons. It's not all over for them by any stretch. I think Cade Otton showed that he's more than capable. Really like Jalen McMillan. Think that he'll do well. And obviously they've got Trey Palmer and your old guy,
Sterling Shepard.
Yeah,
Sterling Shepard's played really well, but he's not getting the production. I feel like he's blocking very well and running routes well to free up space for Godwin and Evans, but he's not getting a lot of the ball. So
no, he's not. But the point is like they've got options that can do stuff. So it's not the end of the world. I actually thought Rachaad White looked a lot better last week as well, and I think Bucky Irving is out for this game.
He's definitely injured. I'm not sure whether he's confirmed that he's definitely out yet. He's questionable. Okay. I think Rachaad White's still questionable, but I would have thought that's just precautionary because he was injured, came back, and they just want to rest him. And then be Sean Tucker, isn't it? The other one?
Yeah.
So who looked like he's been playing well. So
yeah. So they do still have weapons. It's not like it's the end of the world, but it is going to be very difficult without their two main guys. I think defensively the Bucs not great. 29th when it comes to giving up passing yards. So they've struggled against the pass. 19 against the run as well. So they do sort of struggle in that area. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to be able to keep up to a certain degree. I think that's where the problem's going to come in. I just think that there's going to be plays that Baker Mayfield is not going to be able to make because he's not going to have that wide receiving core that he's used to having that can make them. And that's where they'll probably falter just a little bit. The Falcons, it's really difficult with the Falcons because last week was just such a strange result. But I was watching Red Zone and you see the highlights of these games. And I'm just like, why are you still running the ball? Why are you persisting with this all the time? And they're quite easy to work out. First down, they run the ball. Second down, they will probably try and run the ball. Third down, oh my God, we've got to do something. Okay, let's pass it. And it works. And it's just like, you've got to get Kirk Cousins in a rhythm. That seems to be how it works with him. And if you don't do that, you're going to get, not only are you just so reliant on the run, you're getting really sort of like static, not very good passing play as well. Every time they've looked really good, it's because they're constantly passing the ball and Cousins is in the rhythm, and they've got to just, I'm not saying that you completely abandon the run because obviously you don't, but I think if you do that every time first down, everyone knows where you're going, and it's causing them a few issues at certain times. And I think the Seahawks did well. They bottled up the run a bit and slowed it down, and kind of almost like before the Falcons knew it, they were behind by about 15 points and it was all over. So I think they need to change that. And especially going up against the Bucs team, who, like I said, the 29th when it comes to giving up passing yards. You can pass on this team, so do it. Because you're probably
got the weapons. Because all three of the wide receivers, all three of them are playing well. You know, it's not just London, but including
this is the point.
Playing well as well.
Yeah, this is the point though, isn't it? So London clearly is the third down guy that he seemed, or the red zone guy as well, that he seems to be going to a lot. But Darnell Mooney is doing really, really well, and
Moving the chains.
Kyle Pitts has looked like a solid tight end. Where last year he really, really struggled, but this year he's looking like a good option as someone that you can pass to, and he can move the chains. I mean, they've even got, is it Ray McLeod,
Ray
isn't it? They've
McLeod,
got
yeah.
there, who's looked good as well. So they've got some really good passing options. And I understand the sort of theory of wanting to use Bijan because he is such a good running back. But I think it's kind of hurting them a little bit. So it really depends what they want to do. But I agree with the minus 2.5. I do agree with the minus 2.5 though.
Yeah, it's a fear. Like you say, if this game was fully fit, you'd say this is going to be a shootout.
Yeah,
and the Buccaneers aren't fully fit. We've seen what happened to the Rams when they lost their two superstar wide receivers, and I'd say Stafford is a better quarterback than Baker, despite how well Baker's playing, and he couldn't quite get it done with them. So that's my thinking behind this. They're not going to be the same, despite people thinking Baker will still get it done. So I'm happy with that one. My last one, I've lost my mind with my last one because I've gone against my own advice, Adam. My own advice that I gave last week. If I can find it.
It's at the bottom.
There it is. I've gone with the Kansas City Chiefs at minus 9.5 now. Last week I said if they're an underdog, bet on them. If they're a 3-point favorite, bet on them. When it gets to 10, I said that's when you probably stop betting on them. And it got to 10 and I picked them. But I feel like the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, I think that really does assist. I think they'll still play Watson out wide and then Hopkins maybe in the slot and get him in that Rice, Juju Smith-Schuster role that they've got so much success out of the start of the season. Running back seems to be working for them, despite Pacheco's not out there, is a big loss against the Raiders team that is just Brock Bowers. It is just Brock Bowers, isn't it? So I'm now confused at where their points is going to come from. Whereas I feel like the Chiefs might march down the field every single time, and maybe even if they just kick a field goal every time, might get enough to win by 10. Adam, have I lost my marbles with this one?
Little bit. This, yeah, I can't get with this. I know what you're. I get the logic. I get the thing. And when you look at their results that they've had this season, whenever they've gone up against a defense or a team that you would argue are not very good, they have kind of put them away a bit. They beat the Saints by 13. So that's good. The 49ers have really struggled, put them away by 10. I think there's still more juice in this Raiders defense than what a lot of people think there is. They're currently 8th when it comes to giving up passing yards. Now, the 23rd when it comes to giving up rushing yards, so you can run on them, and the Chiefs will want to run the ball. But I think there's a bit of fight in this Raiders defense, especially when you've got someone like Max Crosby there. And because it's a divisional game as well, and you're away, it's a scary line to take minus 10. It really is.
I think my thought process this week was looking at it. Which teams do I think are going to win? And I'm confident that the Chargers are going to win. I'm confident that the Chiefs are going to win.
Well, I'm confident the Chiefs are going to win.
Yeah, but this is my point. There's some games, if you take the game above it, Bears versus Commanders, I think the Bears are going to win, but I could be wrong. I'm not I'm fairly certain the Chiefs are going to win. So I'm just gambling on, they're going to win. Definitely. Now I just need you to get the points. Whereas some of the other games, I'm like, Bills, Seahawks, I personally think Bills are going to win, but there's no guarantee that the Seahawks could come out and win that. So it's not a case of the -3 coming into play. It's a case of the money line coming into play. Whereas the Chiefs one, I think there's victory to be had. So fingers crossed they can just push it over that point. And the Chiefs defense is super strong as well. So they're going to help them get a good field position against that offense, surely.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect them to do well, although they are 20th when it comes to giving up passing yards. They do struggle a little bit with that, but yeah, they're very good against the run. So you'd think they'd bottle that up pretty quick. They should do pretty well in this game. You in theory, I mean, look, you've got a team, the Raiders 1-6, and you're going up against the team who are like, going to be 6-0, 7-0. This is. You would expect this to happen. They're just not a team that the Chiefs are kind of like, well, as I've been saying for ages, and our fellow podcaster Sky doesn't like. They are the Patriots. That's what they are. They only do what they have to do, and so that puts me off as well because of that. That's what's scary with them. I agree. I think they'll win. I think they'll win pretty well, pretty easily. Keep the Raiders at hand, arm's length all the way through. But -10 is a big line.
Wow, luckily it's -9.5, so that's fine.
Okay, -9.5. But even that's still big enough for me to be like, eh. And I know what you're saying about some of these other games, and it's funny actually because you're going to ask me what games I would choose instead, and you've actually gone to both of them already. So, yeah, and to me, they felt like the obvious ones where I just kind of felt like, so this really depends on whether Jayden Daniels is playing or not. If Jayden Daniels is playing, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. If he's out, then Bears -2.5. I think that's the way forward because it is within the field goal, and I think it's two very even teams that will do okay. And then the Bills -3. Against the Seahawks, I just think the Bills are a better team, like in general. And I do genuinely believe this about the Seahawks. I think they're a team that are going to beat up the poorer teams, and then they're going to struggle against the really good ones. And I think the Bills are on a bit of a run, and Amari Cooper coming in is just going to make them better. So they're the two that I like the look of over the Chargers and the Chiefs myself. But I think both of yours will win. I just don't know if they'll cover that spread.
Yeah, I used them as examples because they were ones that I was and about putting in. Like I said, I am on the same side as you with those two games. I just cannot. There's an air of doubt with them, slightly, and
absolutely.
The same with the Bengals. I like Joe Burrow in this one, but I think that's another 50-50 split one as well. I very nearly thought the best bet is the Jets against the Patriots. I think Jets will be a lot better this week with Devontae being there for a full week now. So I think they might get a bit more going. But
the one that I was interested in, and I didn't put it up because it is a massive line, is the Lions at -11.5. I just can't see that Titans offense doing anything. Obviously, although the Lions, you can pass on them, Will Levis, I just don't see anything coming from him at all. And that Lions offense is very strong. And also the kind of attitude of the Lions as well. We saw it against the Cowboys. We didn't just want to win, they wanted to destroy. And I think that they're a little bit like that. So that's the team that I think, if ever there was a team to pick on a big spread who are just going to keep going all the way to the end, I think it would be the Lions.
Yeah, they want to embarrass people, don't they? They want to scheme up things they can use later in the year as well. Adam, what touchdown scorers have you got for us this week? Any big ones you've found that you like the look of?
Yeah, so there's a few that were over the 2-1 bet that we were looking at. There was a few more actually, because last week there wasn't many, but this week there's been a few, and it's Jalen McMillan I think at 2-1 for the Bucks against the Falcons. I still think the Bucks are going to be a team that they're going to be able to do stuff. McMillan, I think, has shown that he's a good wide receiver, and he's probably going to be one of the more favoured targets, I think, from Baker in this game. So really like Jalen McMillan. In the same game, it's difficult. Yeah, no, just one up above him. That's all. It's difficult not to go for Darnell Mooney at 2-1. He tends to be a bit in and out when it comes to the sort of red zone targets. Obviously, Drake London seems to be the main choice there, but I think that Mooney's a good wide receiver who seems to have got a bit of a rapport with Kirk Cousins. It's just purely about whether or not they're going to pass the ball enough in order for him to get his chances. But yeah, I think he looks good at 2-1.
I went the other way. I went down to Pitts at 11-5.
Yeah, well, you see, Pitts isn't a bad option as well. They're both of them look like they've got chances. I don't know. I'm still not sold on Pitts. I think like you get scarred, don't you, by some people? And having him in fantasy before, I'm not. I think I'll pass. In the Jags Packers game, you've got Evan Ingram at 9-4. He's just getting all the targets. I know Brian Thomas did really well against the Patriots last week, but Evan Ingram being there, he sees so much of the ball. Packers really struggle against the tight end as well, so I think that's a good bet to be going for. In the Browns-Ravens game, it's probably the first time that we've mentioned this guy this season for obvious reasons, but David Njoku at 12-5, he had 14 targets last week. And now that Amari Cooper's gone, I don't know where else you go.
Well, he's the first wide receiver listed for them, isn't he?
He's a tight end. So that's how bad it's got for him. The other thing is the Ravens have struggled against the pass. They give up passing yards. And I think that, with Jameis Winston there now, you're going to see that ball being passed a lot more than what it was before. I think he's got a chance at 12-5, so I don't mind it. And then my final one in the same game, Rashad Bateman at 3-1. He just seems to be getting more involved. Had a decent game, didn't he, last week? Looked good. And at 3-1, I think he's got a chance against the defense of the Browns. It's not actually that bad when you look at the numbers, but I think they're just going to end up in a bit of a position where they're going to end up getting knackered because they're going to be on the field so much, and they're going to have Derrick Henry running at them for a lot of this game, and that's going to knacker them out. And I think that there's always the chance of the big throw over the top, and Bateman's going to be the one who probably takes that. So yeah, at 3-1, I think he's a decent price.
I'm guessing you've not mentioned this person because you've got them in a treble.
I have not mentioned another person because I have got him in the treble. But I was shocked that was the price.
Considering he keeps getting in the end zone now.
I will let you know in about 3 or 4 minutes' time.
Well, okay. Well, I'll go first. I'll do mine first. Keep the suspense going as we've just... we might know who it is. We might not. I have actually gone for Kyle Pitts. I thought the odds were really good. Fancy him getting in the end zone, 11-5. I think they're going to help you get a good treble in for a start. And then I've taken Tank Dell as well. He's got to step up. He needs to. We mentioned him earlier. He's been very, very quiet. He's up against the Colts, struggled against wide receivers, 6-4. And then I've added in Alan Lazard at 9-4 as well. I know that you've got Garrett Wilson and you've got Devontae Adams there now, but I feel like he still goes to him. He's still looking for him. The ball's still going his way. It's probably going to go his way in the end zone. He trusts him. So all of that, 25-1.
It's not bad. It's good odds. Lazard is obviously the scary one. Well, actually, Dale's a little bit of a scary one as well, but Lazard is kind of the scary one because now that Devontae Adams is there, it is a little bit like I think it is going to end up being Devontae Adams.
Lazard's just going to be wide open. They're going to double mark Garrett Wilson. They're going to double cover
Yeah.
Devontae Adams. He's just going to be standing there going, "I'm free."
I think the problem with Lazard is I just don't know how much he's going to get on the field now. That's the concern. But
he still was last week.
Yeah, he was. He had. I think, was it 4 receptions last week, something like that.
He had even more targets because he dropped a couple, didn't he? So
yeah, he did. So he's still going to be involved. It's just that obviously you have to think not quite as much. But yeah, Tank Dell.
Got to.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good matchup for him, and you got to think he's going to be on the field a lot. So it's a very logic would suggest he should get in. And Kyle Pitts, did you say last one? Yeah. Well, we spoke about Pitts. I mean, he is a genuine option now, and he's looking good with Kirk Cousins there. The only problem is obviously the red zone targets normally go to London, but I mean, you would kind of hope that he would be able to do okay. Speaking of that, my early touchdown treble, first one, Drake London at 5-4 for the reasons I said. I just think the targets will keep going to him. AJ Brown for the Eagles against the Bengals. I think that although the Eagles offensively have not looked great this season, I think that another week with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith out there, I think will only improve them. Bengals not great against the pass, 21st against giving up passing yards. So I think you can score points on them. So the over-under is 48 as well. So you're kind of expecting a decent attacking game here. So yeah, I think AJ Brown at 6-4 is a decent price. And then, as we said, I left him till last just to keep it going. Mark Andrews at 3-1. Now, there is a bit of a risk on this one because if you think about the game logically, you got to think that the Browns won't put up too many points. So therefore they can just use the run a lot. And I do wonder if that might be why he's such a big price, and also why, say, like Rashad Bateman's a big price as well. But he scored 3 touchdowns in 2 games and he's 3-1. It just seemed too big not to do.
It seems like they're utilizing them a little bit like the Chiefs do with Kelsey when they've got a full team. It seems like during the game, to move the chains, to get up the field, they're using Likely and Collar. And when they get into that red zone area, on trots Mark Andrews. So it seems like they utilize them in the red zone area as well. So I can't understand why, because even if it's they're lining up as a run player and they change it, he's going to be on the field as an extra lineman there to play out and catch the ball. So yeah, very odd that he's 3-1.
I do genuinely think the reason behind this is that they're not expecting much resistance from the Browns and that they're just going to be able to run the ball. I think that's probably the logic behind it, because like I say, with Rashad Bateman being a 3-1, that seems big for him as well. I can't remember what Zay Flowers is, but he's not
Bateman's gone into 2-1.
Oh, has he? Oh, okay. He was 3-1 yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So,
but still, I just think that Andrews is a big price. So yeah, London, Brown, Andrews, 21.5-1.
Nice. My late one is I've got 2 people.
Did you find this hard? The late ones. It's funny because I thought it would be a bit easier because there were 5 games, but it wasn't. It was still quite difficult.
But I have gone with 2 people that are on new teams. So I have gone for DeAndre Hopkins, 8-4, taking a bit of a risk because there was talks that he might not play because obviously he's still got an injury that he had at the Titans. I'm not sure what he might have a case of the Kadarius Tonys when he was injured.
Is this the Devontae Adams hamstring injury? Is this what we're dealing with?
So I've gone with DeAndre Hopkins. I think surely gets in the end zone. First game, it's written in there, isn't it? It's got to be. I've also gone with Amari Cooper. We saw him getting in the end zone last week. I think he gets in the. He now will know all the routes a little bit better. He won't need Keon Coleman to point him in the right direction this time. So I think he gets in. He's 13-8. which thinks that's great odds for him. And then the last one, might have lost my mind a little bit on this one. I don't know what's happened to me this week, but I have put in Troy Franklin at 3-1. The last 2 weeks, he's been getting involved a lot more. We know that he's got that connection with Bo Nix back at Oregon. And I just see the fact that they need help at wide receiver. That's their biggest struggle at the moment. And he might be the guy to step up now. He's had a few more reps and snaps on the field with the team. And they're playing against the Panthers. So he's ever likely, even if they're winning by loads towards the end of the game, he might get a garbage time one because, they're throwing everything to him to get him more involved. All in all, that comes to 26.3-1.
It's interesting that you said Franklin, because actually I did have him down in the list. I just, because of the other guys that I mentioned in the over 2-1s, I just didn't mention him because I normally only do like 4 or 5. But 3-1, it does feel like he's starting to get more involved, doesn't it? So yeah, I like Franklin. Amari Cooper, as you said, yeah, good price as well at 13-8. Who was DeAndre Hopkins?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Not as keen as you on this. Now, the reason I'm not as keen is I feel like it might take him not a long time, but maybe like a week or two just to learn the playbook and get used to it all and stuff like that. I'm not. I don't think.
And run around, and then when you're open, wave your hand.
The other thing is, and this is to your own point with the sort of -9.5 sort of thing, do you not think that they're going to run the ball a lot here? They're going up against a team that is 23rd against rushing yards, 8th against passing yards. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. And I think that's why I'm nervous for your -9.5 as well. So I'm not overly keen on the Hopkins one, but the other two I think are good. So much so that my first one is Amari Cooper for the Buffalo Bills.
You can't turn down those odds, can 13-8.
Not at 13-8. As you say, he's got better quarterback play now. Has always looked decent all his career, and I think that he'll probably do all right now. So Amari Cooper at 13-8, I think, is a good bet. I've gone for Cole Kmet at 3-1 for the Bears against the Commanders. I know that obviously he got 2 touchdowns, didn't he, when he was in London against the Jags. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Chicago now, and that's the concern with it. But I did sort of think to myself, I wonder if maybe Cole Kmet might keep going this season. I kind of get that feeling that he will. Commanders defense, not fantastic, not the worst by any stretch. They've done a lot better than what I think most of us thought, but they are someone you can score against. So I do like that at 3-1. And then, like I said, just purely because with the Chiefs and the run game, I've gone Kareem Hunt at 4-5. I just think he's going to get in. And that's what I think they're going to do against the Raiders a lot. So Cooper, Kmet, and Hunt is 17.9-1. So it's a little bit smaller, but not too small.
It's Kareem Hunt that brings them down, isn't it? A little bit. Yeah. But yeah, just bang Troy Franklin into that bet instead, and your odds are going to be huge. If 2 3-1s in there, you'd be all right. Are you surprised to see Keon Coleman at 5-2, despite the fact he had a little record, didn't he? He's now joined a list of rookie wide receivers to be the wide receiver one in a week. So, yeah.
I didn't know that, did he?
Yeah, I think the last. I think you've got Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are both on the list.
Okay.
And then I can't remember who the other one was, but yeah, he's what did he have? 120 yards, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, he had a lot, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think the thing is that now that Cooper's there, I do wonder if the longer that Cooper's there, more of the feeling is that he's going to be the main target. And that's probably why Coleman might be one to keep on side a little bit when it comes to the prices, because you do feel like that he's still going to throw it to him. It's not like he's not going to do anything. I just think that Cooper's the main one.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, I can't remember exactly, aren't the Seahawks? Yeah. So the Seahawks are 28th against the run. And I think that if you've got
you got
James
Allen,
Cook there
Cook,
and
and
Josh
Ray
Allen.
Davis.
Yeah. So there's a lot of options that are probably where the ball's probably going to go before it goes to Keon Coleman, specifically in this game as well.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Some good bets in there. Fingers crossed for the FTAG 5. We will post all of these out on social media. We'll get them up for you in case you missed all of them. So you can check that that 5-fold that we had at the start. But if your team's playing this week, best of luck. If you support the Steelers, I hope you no luck because they're going against my Giants on the star-studded late game. And then, good luck to your Packers. But that's all we've got time for, Adam. And as always, keep it with the franchise tag.